This podcast is part of the Red 5 Network. For more Red 5 Network podcasts, visit red5network.com.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
What is up, Scuttlebutt Nation? Welcome to a very special all-Star Wars edition of Scarif Live on this special date. As you can tell from my shirt, I am known in these parts as Ro, not Martian. I was here first, damn it. But to my right is my illustrious co-host, Brad. How's it going? Long time no see, buddy.
It is going very well. I am not in prison. Don't worry about the walls behind me. Everything is great here in Virginia, and happy to be back on, and love the guests that we have on today and ready to talk some Star Wars.
Oh, absolutely. So this is a special date, May 5th. I quickly want to say hello to everybody in the chat. We got lots of friends in the chat. Thanks for showing up, all you bastards that celebrated Star Wars Day, that marketing Star Wars Day earlier in the month, May 4th. May the 4th be with you. But May the 4th, that was everybody's special Star Wars Day, but I like to kind of cling to May 25th. What are your thoughts, Brad? What's your Star Wars Day?
I think you and I are on the same page on that one. Episode 4 came out May 25th. That's Star Wars Day. May the 4th has a nice ring to it, and may the Sith be with you, or the Sith,
whatever that is. Exactly.
Those are all cool. Those are all, fun marketing things, but real Star Wars Day is May 25th for sure.
Sounds good. Sounds good. A special day indeed, whether you celebrate today or May 4th. My Mexican has started to get in there, Cinco de Mayo. Star Wars has remained a staple of geekdom here, and I'm pretty excited. Can't you tell?
Yep. There's so many things, going on. Star Wars Celebration, of course, Kenobi coming out. So it is, once again, a great time to be a Star Wars fan.
Absolutely. And our special guest tonight is known all across the galaxy. Brad, let me ask you, when you type in and search top-rated best Star Wars podcast, what do you think you get?
Besides Scarif.
No. Besides Scarif.
Because that actually doesn't pop up.
No, Scarif. We're like 462, 438 on a good day.
438, man. We are just killing it. There might be a Rebel Force Radio that you might find.
Absolutely. Rebel Force Radio has maintained that top distinction for many years, and I'm super excited. And I want to bring him out, but I got to do it like they do it on the show. Put your hands together for your friend and mine, Mr. Jimmy Mack.
Hey guys.
Hey, how's it going?
Here.
How's it going,
Great,
Jimmy?
Man. I'm glad to be on the Scuttlebutt finally. After hanging with you, Ro, a few times.
Absolutely.
Both your get-togethers with Dominic Pace and that Tony Lasano show is where I met you.
Right?
That was a while ago.
That was a while ago.
Yeah.
Tony's a good guy, and we had fun with. We did 2 of those, didn't we?
Yes, and I don't even think you were Star Wars podcasting at that time.
No, the first one I wasn't. The second time I was, but the first one, obviously sitting in that studio was very exciting. Lots of Star Wars nerds, but thank you, Jimmy Mack, for taking the time to come on to the Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast here. And we're going to be talking a little bit about our get-together, ScarifCon, in a little bit, but thank you so much. This is going to be great.
May the 25th be with you.
May the 25th. Right. Well, Brad is right. It doesn't have that nice of a tone to it, that nice of a ring like May the 4th. But still, I got to wear the shirt today. So happy May 25th to you.
People want to debate May the 4th, May 25th. What is the real Star Wars Day? All of that stuff is for mainstream folk. I think in the Star Wars fan bubble, every day is Star Wars Day, pretty much.
Amen.
Absolutely.
So it's not like we need an excuse on the calendar to celebrate Star Wars. Yeah.
My wife, sometimes I'll put on a Star Wars shirt and she goes, "Oh, is this a special day today?" I'm like, "No, it's Thursday."
It's Thursday.
Exactly. I wanted to ask you guys, longtime fans. We are of the older crowd. Brad always likes to. I think Brad is the baby here, but
That doesn't happen too often, so I'll take it.
Yeah, exactly. You mentioned Tony Lozano. We were talking about our collectibles and things like that, and things that we collect. I wanted to ask you: have you had any new collectibles that you've purchased lately?
Jeez, not really anything of note. Oh, I went to Nashville for the ICC.
Oh, yeah.
And I picked up a vintage Darth Vader TIE fighter in the box, which is something I've wanted for a while. Nice. I passed up on it when I saw it at the Kane County Toy Fair a couple of years ago, and I was kicking myself for doing that. But the one I found in Nashville was better quality. It was in better condition, and it was $70 cheaper. So it pays to wait some time.
Very nice.
So
it definitely does.
I'm really into collecting vintage stuff. Had all the boxes as a kid. I saved them. We never threw them away. But a natural disaster occurred when our sump pump failed and flooded the basement corner where all of those boxes were. Not only those boxes, but the cardboard play sets like the Land of the Jawas. We even had the cantina, the really rare one from Sears with the blue snaggletooth. We had that backdrop.
Wow.
All of that stuff toast. And so I'm trying slowly and steadily to replace those lost items. And yeah. And so when I come across a good deal, it's hard to resist. And there were so many good deals in Nashville. I was blown away.
Oh, that's cool.
Can I give a tip here for those of you going to Star Wars Celebration? Jimmy kind of said it. You're going to be compelled because you're going to see all the vendors there at Star Wars Celebration, and every single thing is just going to light up in your mind like, oh, I have to have this. Look around all the vendors first before you buy anything at Star Wars Celebration. You're going to want to. It might be the first time you see some of these things, but just take a good look around before you buy anything. It's great place to find some loot, but there's some overpriced stuff there as well. So, send yourself with a budget to Star Wars Celebration. Have fun, but take a look around before you purchase anything.
I agree with that approach mostly. It is a double-edged sword because if you pass something up, there is a chance it won't be there when you get back.
True.
Right.
And that's a risk you take. But I do like to really rush through the aisles just one time to see if there's anything that really sticks out. And then I'll take my time going through them.
Absolutely. What do you think of the advice? And we hear this a lot at C2E2 here in Chicago of waiting for the last day because the vendors don't want to pack stuff up and take, the more they sell. That last day, you can really count on some deep discounts. What do you think of that?
Well, I hope so. Traditionally, you see that, but I wouldn't say that's the case across the board anymore, especially with a show in Anaheim where the table fees are probably a little bit more, especially for a Star Wars centric show like this. They're probably paying a little bit more per table, so they don't want to throw away more profits than they've already invested in just being there. So
absolutely,
again, double-edged sword. It's like you have to be in the right place at the right time, and persistence does pay off. You can start making your early offers at the beginning of the convention, and then just keep coming back every day and keep hitting the same guy with the same number, or even raise it up just a little bit to meet him maybe, but still staying within your budget. And then by the last day, he'll be like, the persistence will have paid off because he's like, this guy's come around to my table 4 times this week. They usually will give in. Plus, as you say, it's one last thing to pack up.
Sure. So don't be afraid to be a pain in the ass is what you're saying.
Yeah. The squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, as you see behind me, I've got a lot of Star Wars collectibles. You talked about, really holding on to that vintage stuff. Last year, we recently sold last year, my family home, the house that I grew up in the attic. I had all my Star Wars stuff. And now, that house is gone. I had to kind of bring stuff here, my production office, storage. So I have all that stuff. And in this room, every wall is Star Wars. I've got a lot of Black Series, but I'm actually considering getting rid of a lot of the newer Black Series stuff and then putting up some of my vintage toys, because I still have the boxes. I've got the Slave One box with the Slave One in it. I've got Hoth, the playset. I've got all that stuff. Some of it, I was a kid and I would like write my name on it.
Yeah.
Which kind of sucks, but still.
I would put blue ink on the bottom of their foot, so I knew which one was mine.
Yeah.
And I still have those figures with the blue ink on the bottom of the foot.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah. It's, it's when you grow up in that realm, and obviously, these vintage toys, we didn't know that they were going to be in such high demand, many, many years later. I've got several stormtroopers with, heads blown off or arms kind of bent or burned because I wanted to, weather them and make them look like they were in battle. But the evolution of our own fandom, I want to say that, we're older fans, but I wanted to ask Jimmy and Brad too, to a degree, what has that changed? Has it lessened? Do you see less Star Wars fans coming into the mix, more or the same? How do you think the fandom has evolved?
Well, that's a good question. Now, obviously, with the film releases, that promotes new members of the fan base. People become fans that way. I think The Mandalorian has done a lot to make casual fans more interested in Star Wars. But what level are we talking about here of a fan? A fan who collects, a fan who attends conventions and listens to podcasts, a fan who reads all the comics and novels and tries to get as complete a story as possible. There's all these different levels of fandom. You could be a fan if you just saw the original film and don't care about any of the rest of them. Star Wars is like the biggest entertainment franchise in the world, pretty much. So it's hard to say because it's so universal, especially back when we were kids, like in the 70s. It wasn't a question of whether or not you were a Star Wars fan. It was, how big of a fan are you of Star Wars? Everyone was a fan. So that's kind of a tough question. But like as far as bringing in maybe a younger fan base, it's hard to tell what connects with younger fans when they siphon in entertainment. They come at it from different approaches. Like when we were growing up, being a video game fan really didn't open up the door for you being a Star Wars fan. It was kind of like the two were hand in hand. It was almost like video games came on the scene about the same time as Star Wars, and together they created like this synergy. And you could see video games that were influenced by Star Wars. Look at Asteroids, for crying out loud.
Sure.
That came out the same summer Empire Strikes Back. Coincidence? I don't think so. So it's always funny to note that stuff, but there are some fans who get introduced into Star Wars via the video games, which was never a possibility when we were younger. So that's a whole different avenue. Lego has been a great gateway for kids to get into Star Wars. There's been a lot of attempts by Lucasfilm to attract a younger fan base. And they're on shaky ground as far as that goes. I think they should just concentrate on making movies and stuff like that and leave attracting younger fans via their animation, which usually works. I'm not talking about the YouTube channel stuff that they do. I'm talking about Clone Wars and Rebels and Bad Batch. Bad Batch has been a great gateway for some younger fans to get into Star Wars or to rediscover Star Wars. That's the case I'm finding with my kids, is that they grew up with Star Wars. They saw the prequels in the theaters when they were released. And then they saw the sequels in the theaters, obviously, when they were teenagers. But now I find especially with Bad Batch, my younger son has gone back and rewatched all the prequels because when he saw them, he was a very little kid. And, perspectives change as you age. And so he only could recall it through the lens of a little kid. And he said he watched the prequels now and he sees it totally differently. Same thing with the Clone Wars. He would when he was a little kid, he would wait for action sequences and Ahsoka quips, and that's all that show meant to him. But now he's grasping the larger mythology and the stronger character moments and things like that. And so it's when you have a franchise that's been around for 40 years, there's ebbs and flows and ups and downs, and we all see it and experience it. But I think Star Wars altogether is pretty consistent as far as attracting people to it. The doors seem open for just about anybody to be attracted to something going on in Star Wars these days. And I like that. Yeah.
And there's so much Star Wars out there for, I guess, a wide gamut of ages. Like you mentioned, the animation and some of the YouTube stuff, some of the more like Star Wars Resistance. I watched it with my son, and for me it was like, it's okay, but for little kids, it was like, oh, it's interesting.
You congratulations. You have presented to me the only little kid I've ever met who was into Star Wars Resistance. As a matter of fact, it's like a handful of people I know who've actually seen Star Wars Resistance. See, I don't think it works when it gets dumbed down for kids. The original Star Wars wasn't dumbed down for kids, and that's why kids loved it so much. It has to have a universal family appeal. I don't like these attempts to go after target audiences in Star Wars. I like it to be broad, universal, and something anyone could grasp and find something. And things like Resistance. I mean, even the Lego thing. Now, the Lego thing I think works because of the Lego, functionality of that. It's a toy to begin with. You think you're watching toys more than you think you're watching Star Wars when you see those specials and video games and stuff. But I think any other attempts to attract a youth audience undermines the integrity of Star Wars. Star Wars is supposed to have something for everyone. It shouldn't be focused on little demographics. It should be thinking big picture all the way. And that's when it works the best. That's when the original trilogy worked the best. Now, the prequels obviously kind of came at things with a more wacky, slapsticky angle. And I chalk that up to George Lucas having a little boy in the house. And I think he was tailoring Star Wars for the kid. But still, there are universal themes and big pictures presented in the prequel trilogy that I think a lot of people can grasp onto.
Sure.
When The Last Jedi came out, or after The Last Jedi came out, there was nearly an all-out civil war in the Star Wars fandom. Either you could get on board with the new stuff, with the way RJ did it, or whatever, and who's calling who a fan and not a fan. I think now that the dust is settled, and this a lot of this is what Jimmy was saying. Now the dust is settled, I think the fan base is just evolving, if you will. And I think every fan is evolving in their own way now. Like there was one point, Ro, you even knew me at this point, where I had to get my hands on every single piece of Star Wars literature that there was, because I kind of had to prove it to myself that I was a fan. And I'm not that way now. Like I cannot read the new books that come out. I can't read the most of the comic books that come out. There's a few exceptions that are really good, but for the most part, I can't read those because they are catering one way or another, and they're not focusing on those universal themes that Jimmy was talking about. So we're all just. I think we've all found our happy place. Like we know what we like, and we're just going to stick with that. You like to have all the collectibles and the antiques and this. I mean, and I love the way the Black Series looks on the wall. But we're content that way. And I think we can all just let each other be fans now. However you want to do that, however that looks to you. But I think we've probably given up on trying to define what it means to be a Star Wars fan.
And that's an interesting point. We're going to skip around the notes here because you said something interesting regarding letting fans be fans in whatever stage you're at. Obviously, years ago, we only had 3 movies and everybody loved them kind of universally. Now there's so much Star Wars like I said, it's coming in from all sorts of angles. Is there one thing, or are there a few things that you would love to see fans stop doing, not only to themselves, but to each other?
One thing that irritates me is I'm a big music lover. I like classic rock. I grew up as a kid listening to all these bands in the 70s, and then by the time I was like mid 80s and I'm old enough to start going to concerts and stuff, I was among the children in the room, and I always respected all the people who had been there carrying on with the fandom throughout the years before I was old enough to segue into it properly, and the last thing I would ever want to do was to go and start telling somebody who had established themselves within a fan base of a band. I wouldn't go to a concert and tell them how to behave, or tell them that the new stuff is good and the old stuff sucks. I would never do that, because I respect the integrity and the history of those bands, right? Like, I'm going to roll into a Grateful Dead concert in 1984 and start telling all those old hippies how to act. Okay. That's kind of how I felt like as a fan who's been tightly connected to Star Wars since 1977. When The Last Jedi hit and there was friction in the fan base. And the unfortunate thing is that Lucasfilm instigated a lot of that stuff. Insiders at Lucasfilm instigated that kind of stuff. And they really, had people fired up about things. Everything, from Twitter to, there was a lot of Twitter stuff going on.
Sure. Right.
And it was shocking to see that it was coming from people at Lucasfilm, as their way of dealing with criticism was to attack the fan base.
Right.
That's never going to work.
Right.
And it didn't
always
work.
backfires.
Now, are we on the other end of the tunnel? I think we might be seeing some light at the end of the tunnel, but I know we're not on the other end of things.
Yeah.
The wounds are still fresh with a lot of fans who feel betrayed. Mm-hmm. And that's a piss poor way to run a franchise. I've been pretty outspoken about that kind of thing.
Sure.
Giving Chuck Wendig a keyboard was probably one of the worst things in all the other authors. Like you're speaking, like being in the Navy, I can't just start talking on behalf of the Navy, right? We actually signed a contract. We're not allowed to do that. Right. It should be the same thing. You're not, as somebody who writes for them or, acts for them or directs for them, you're part of that franchise. So you can voice your own opinions. But when it started coming from the voice of Star Wars, of Lucasfilm, being personally attacked by the creators of this franchise, unbelievable.
Well, yeah, and Chuck was the poster boy for a lot of that stuff, and now he's a pariah. He can't work on Star Wars anymore. He's unhireable. And I was outspoken about it. I said that Lucasfilm should institute a social media policy and enforce it with their employees and be professional and understand that people are coming from different backgrounds and different influences and different perspectives, and you have to respect that to maintain the integrity of Star Wars. You have to do that because Star Wars works on the universal level. And so Chuck didn't heed anyone's warnings. They were all right there. People were stop all of this, Chuck, they were saying. And I was just but a voice in the crowd. Sure. And he didn't listen. He just didn't listen. He acted like a fool and didn't listen and lost his gig. And like I said, now he is damaged goods in the publishing industry. Yikes. Yeah. So that's how the cookie crumbles, sure. and why it's dangerous for any insider to be behaving in the ways Chuck was.
I find it interesting because, you know, as fans of whatever, that fandom really seeps into the psyche of our own, you know, personas. It's embedded in us. And when
It's a
somebody
lifestyle.
right, when somebody doesn't like what we like, you sometimes, you know, you can't help but to be offended because they're attacking you personally. Sometimes fans, I see that a lot. I mean, how, you know, you guys, Jimmy, you and your team have been doing Rebel Force Radio for a long time. What are some of the things that you've learned about fandom and or yourselves throughout that journey?
Well, I know that like most people are generally nice, really nice people within the Star Wars fan community. There's a lot of sharing. There's a lot of generosity. There's a lot of a sense of community and belonging. And that's primarily what motivated me to start doing Star Wars podcasting way back in 2006 was because I wanted to have Star Wars friends. I wanted to go to a convention and say, hey, you know, I'm Jimmy Mack. Oh, you're Jimmy Mack. So nice to meet you. Yeah, finally we meet in person. That kind of vibe, you know.
Sure.
And it's paid off. It's paid off big time. It's given me that and so much more. It's helped me network. It's helped me make all kind of connections. I mean, people like you guys, you know, I'd never meet guys like you and be talking about Star Wars unless we had this kind of
Community
medium and this community
Sure.
and all of that stuff. And it's all, you know, we all talk the same language. We understand the same references. It's a real communal thing. And I think it's more fun that way. Because I was a Star Wars fan in isolation for so long, it felt like.
Yeah.
And so with being able to tap into the fan community, which is something I always wanted to do, but I was never really involved in like newsletters or fan clubs or websites, you know, forums, message boards, none of that stuff. I would lurk, I would, you know, check it out, but I wanted to be involved. And so when podcasting came on the scene, at first I was snotty about it because I was working in broadcast radio. And a few years prior to podcasting coming on my radar, I was able to do a radio special for CBS to promote Revenge of the Sith. And so I went to Star Wars Celebration in Indianapolis and interviewed a bunch of actors and stuff. And it was really a lot of fun.
I saw you from afar.
Yeah. Did you?
I was there.
Yeah, we snuck into the autograph hall in the morning before the doors opened, me and my brother. And we finagled all these interviews with the actors as they're walking in with their coffee and donuts. It was hilarious. And we had no permission to be there whatsoever. People kept saying, you know, we would listen closely for names. When people, they'd be like, does Scott know you're doing this? And, oh yeah, Scott knows we're doing this. And so the next time somebody asked us, we said, no, Scott's cool with it. You know?
Right. Yeah. Very
nowadays they'd be, you know, taking you out in a cop car, but but that's, you know, that was back then. It was easier and easier to navigate, and a media badge meant something back then too. Nowadays it doesn't mean anything, but because, you know, they dole them out to websites and podcasts and stuff like that, as opposed to like real journalists, you know. And I was coming from CBS radio, so I felt like I had earned that media badge. But it's all those little things, you know. It was just having a voice in the community. When podcasting came on the scene, I said, okay, now there's something I can do. After I got over my initial snotty reaction to where it was like, oh yeah, that's amateur hour, you know. And some of the first podcasts I heard, I thought, oh God, these sound terrible. But then I heard Jason Swank and Pete Nadel, and they were doing a show for rebelscum.com and theforce.net, the Forcecast. Jason named the show the Forcecast. And I stumbled across that because I was looking at those websites, and I would never listen to anything in the car, commuting home from work, because my wife she's also in radio. She's a talk show host. So she'd be on the air in the afternoon. And I always felt like compelled to listen to her. I was working at the same station. It was just, I had it locked in, and that's what I listened to every day on my commute home. Well, she missed a week in December 2006. She missed a few weeks because she had knee surgery. So I needed something to listen to on my commutes. And I didn't have an iPod or anything like that. But I keep seeing these Forcecasts. So I download them and burned them to CD and listened to them in the car. And I binged every episode they had. They'd only been on for like 3 months. And I binged every episode they had. And at some point during the binge, I said, I need to reach out to these guys because I hear what they're doing, but I don't know if they actually can get from point A to point B to point C. I think I can help them do that. And as a radio producer, it just seemed like natural. I did that CBS radio special. I had so much fun doing that. So I figured this would be more of that. And it really did turn out to be that way. At first, I just wanted to help the guys out, but I gradually became more and more part of the show. And I would do little spin-off shows hosted by myself. And then Pete Nadel, the co-host, he stepped away in mid-2008. And so we tried to convince him to stay and everything, but he was getting married, and it was just a whole lifestyle change for him. So he was, already had a foot out the door. And after much consideration, I said, well, I'll co-host because I wanted the show to keep going on.
Sure.
And, just not thinking that I'd be able to handle it with all the other work responsibilities I had, family responsibilities and stuff. But it all happened pretty naturally, and I had a lot of energy for it. We never announced that I was replacing Pete. I just showed up the next week as co-host, and the show went on as always. And before anyone knew it, I had fully established myself as the co-host of the show. And then around the Disney sale, that's when we decided we wanted to go independent. And as hard as it was to leave theforce.net and rebelscum.com, it was the right decision for us because we knew Star Wars was going to blow up and be bigger than probably it ever had been before. I think we were right about that. And so we wanted to have full control over everything. And bing, bam, boom, here we are, 16 years later.
Sure.
When I first started doing this, I said, I want to do this at least as long as Pete did it, which was like 2.5 years. And when I got to that 2.5 year mark, I felt wow, that's pretty good. I did what I set out I was going to do, But now, we're at 16 years and I'm considering like the next 16 years.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, this is nuts.
Right.
This is nuts. And then they keep coming out with good stuff like The Mandalorian. And,
right.
Kenobi's coming up here in a few days. And there's just a lot to look forward to for Star Wars. So there's no slowing down right now for us.
Absolutely no slowing down. And yeah, whether you're, reviewing episodes, Brad and I, we're going to be doing some Saturday night reviews once Kenobi drops. I forgot this is pre-recorded. So in this weekend, we're doing our first one. But Brad and I started Scarif in 2019 at the heels of Celebration Chicago. Brad, what have you learned about yourself and fans in the short time that we've had the Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast?
Social media is not real, and also it is the realest thing out there at the same time. I say it's not real because
so weird, ain't?
100% of the opinions don't matter on there because if you want to talk to me, you can come talk to me in person or on the show, and we can discuss things that way. So it doesn't matter what people say on social media, but at the same time, when I say it's the realest thing, some of the best friends. Ro, yourself included, some of the best friends I've made in life, we're through social media and through that community. And, I've gone through, and you Ro, better than most, I've gone through some very hard times in the past couple of years. And if it wasn't for this community, it would have been that much harder.
Yeah.
So, don't completely discount it either. And, with Star Wars Celebration being here, I've told people many times, you kind of owe it to yourself to get the Star Wars Celebration. And I'll add on to that a little bit. Star Wars Celebration is also not cheap. So if you can't make it there, go to some place like Scarif Con in July. Go to any Comic Con that comes through your area. Mm-hmm. But if you want to see the real fans, kind of like Jimmy Mack was saying, if you want to see the real fans and how they act with each other, go to one of these events, because the vibe there is just nothing but positive. Like it's buzzing in the line to get into the front door. And you just geek out with every single cosplay that walks by you. And then you'll get to a perfect stranger and you'll find out what first Star Wars movie they saw when they were a kid. And you'll talk to them like you've known them for the last 20, 30 years. So, do yourself a favor, get to one of these events at some point, and then you'll experience what the fandom actually is and what kind of awesome community it really is.
Absolutely. Yeah. And speaking of Scarif Con, Jimmy, we're going to see you this summer, right?
All right, so it's going to be in Rosemont at Bill Murray's Caddy Shack, right? Is that what's happening?
That is correct.
Okay, yeah, I'll be there. Dominic will be in town. He's a good guy.
He's a fantastic guy. Celebrating some really cool stuff with Dominic. He's got his first officially licensed Lucasfilm product. And there you go.
I just happen to have it sitting right here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he was nice enough to send me one. He signed
That's
it.
Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. So he's gonna have a couple on hand. Hopefully, I have not gotten mine yet because I want to get it from him this summer. So that will be a lot of fun. And I know Rob from Jedi Temple Archives and Greg from Rebel Base Card have featured a couple of Twitter posts with their tiki mug. Very nice. First image there. And I know he's got some more announcements. We've got hopefully a comic book that's coming out with a variant cover, which should be pretty awesome. But we'll get to hang out with Dominic, a couple of the 501st, our friends from WSTR Galactic Public Access. It's always fun hanging out with stormtroopers. I don't know what it is, man, but when I first went to the premiere of episode 1, The Phantom Menace, there were stormtroopers walking up and down Hollywood and Vine, and I thought that was so awesome.
Yeah. I remember the first time I saw cosplaying, it was we went to the media premiere of let's put this thing away, of the special edition. It was hosted by Q101. My wife Wendy was hosting mornings on Q101 at the time. And it was a media screening / promotion. So she was giving away tickets, see the Star Wars special edition before anyone else. And while this was at McClurg Court downtown.
Oh, I miss McClurg.
Yeah, that was a great because
theater.
that was just like those big, vast, open auditoriums with the giant screen and the curtains and all of that. That was the go-to place to see movies downtown for the longest time. Now it's, I think, an AMC multiplex. But we're sitting there, and I was in line behind Boba Fett. I couldn't believe it. I was just like checking out the backpack. I was freaking out because the only time I had ever seen homemade stormtrooper gear and things like that was on the fan film. It was a Cops knockoff. Troops.
Right.
Troops.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, wow, fans made those costumes. I'm impressed.
Right.
Because as a kid, I always thought it would be cool to be in a Star Wars movie as a stormtrooper.
Mm-hmm.
Just to be in the movie as a stormtrooper. I thought that would be the coolest damn thing. And now people in the 501st, they're living that dream all the time.
Yeah.
I have never suited up in armor. I'm not a big costume guy. And it seems like a lot of people associate fandom with costuming.
Yeah.
Like you're not a fan unless you're walking around wearing a costume. But I don't quite see it that way. Oh, there you have a helmet. You have a stormtrooper helmet.
I've got a suit, but I've got to fix it because it's a little tight around the waist, if you know what I mean.
I'm sure I know exactly what you mean. My trooper armor would be XL for sure. and with a belt so that I can loosen.
Yeah,
maybe
right.
a Velcro type of belt that I can take off. But like I said, I've never trooped or anything. I've never even come close. The closest I've come is I have this Chewbacca coat from Mark Echo, and it has a hood, and it's all chewy fur, and it has a bandolier.
Right. Yeah.
I wear that
that
on Halloween when I'm giving out the tricks or the treats to all the kids.
You can you can now cosplay as Kenobi. Just get like a little burlap sack or something, and you're on Tatooine. There you go.
The Emperor.
Hey, I wore that Chewie jacket to Dragon Con a couple years ago, and I got credit for it.
Yeah.
So I'm calling it cosplay.
Yes.
Hey, where'd Jimmy Mack go? Oh, there he is. Oh, that disguise. He was gone
with the hood up. I wore that Wookiee coat to the White Sox Star Wars Day, and we all marched around the infield or the warning track at the ballpark. We marched around the warning track in a parade before the game began. And as I was approaching the visitors' dugout, there was a really, really great looking sideline reporter there. And she was standing in front of the camera and with the mic and everything. And I walked by her and she goes, "Oh my God, how hot are you?" Because I had the coat with and it was hot. It was, like July or August. And I just said, "Not as hot as you, baby." And she went like that, put her hand over her mouth and in turn and started talking right into the camera.
That's funny.
I tracked down the footage because I was dying to see if they caught that moment. And it was
station?
Second. I think it was Kansas City. I'd have to go back and look. I can't remember. But I did look up the footage and she was actually signing off for good. She was going off to another gig. That was her last day as sideline reporter for that team. And so, so I missed it by that much, She goes, "How hot are you?" And she was great looking too.
So we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about it. And you mentioned it a couple minutes ago. We got Kenobi coming out here. So we've gotten the trailers now. How excited are you for Kenobi, or are you, like myself, too reserved right now, too cautious right now to be very excited?
I don't know if cautious is the word, but I'm sort of just ambivalent, really.
Guarded, maybe?
Guarded.
I don't feel guarded. I think Ewan McGregor is going to be great. I look forward to seeing more Darth Vader action. I just, I don't know. Maybe I'm getting a little jaded because of the amount of Star Wars content that has been coming out over the last several years, from the films to the animated series to the streaming series.
You're not one of those Star Wars fatigue kind of guys, are you?
Oh, definitely not. Definitely not fatigue, because like I said, every day is Star Wars Day.
Sure.
I'm always doing something Star Wars. It's not fatigue. It's just almost a feeling like a little bit of there's I don't want to say tarnish. I just want to say like some of the luster is worn off. Like it's not as, it doesn't make me like weak in the knees thinking about, oh, in just a few weeks we're gonna see the continuing adventures of. It just doesn't. It does. I don't have that reaction. Now once it starts going,
sure, then you're on.
I think then I'll be really anticipating each weekly episode, as I had with The Mandalorian, as I had with the Book of Boba Fett. I would say to myself, oh, you know what? Tomorrow is a new Boba Fett episode. Awesome. I really started looking forward to it. I don't feel like I'm looking forward to Kenobi as much as I should be. Maybe it's just because we've been waiting for it for 3 years and it just seems like it's been in development forever. First as a film, now as a streaming series. And I think there's a lot of interesting territory they can take the story into.
Sure.
I don't know, why do I feel just like sort of, I just don't feel I don't feel anything. Once it starts going, I'm sure I'll be pretty excited. Maybe it's because it's happening the same week this big Anaheim thing is happening. And we have a few things going on there. And so I've been really just distracted
Do you think, back in the day, we had to wait 3 years in between movies,
Yeah.
and then a long time after that? Star Wars, with me and my friends, it was like an event. We would have dinner, drinks, and then go to the theater. It was like
Yeah.
one big tentpole thing. Now it's not. Do you feel like it's been watered down? It's not as special?
Yes, that's probably why I feel that
All
way.
right.
It's special to me,
Sure.
still. I mean, but as far as the anticipation factor goes, I think that's become watered down
Sure.
because there's constant releases happening. Well, so I think I've just kind of fallen into that groove a little
Mhm.
bit.
Yeah.
And once Kenobi's over, then what? Andor, it's just gonna the dominoes are just gonna keep falling. So maybe I'm trying to just be conservative with my energy a little bit and
Could be.
save it for when it happens,
Yeah.
as opposed to being so wrapped up in anticipation. And I have enjoyed a lot of the what if conversations that we've been having on Rebel Force Radio
Mhm.
with me and Jason and our guests and our callers. I've heard some wild theories being
Mhm.
thrown out there in crazy speculation, and
Sure.
that stuff I love.
Right.
I love it. And then people will come back and say, "Oh, you know what you said about Kenobi? That actually happened." I was, "Oh yeah, I remember predicting that."
Mhm.
Or, "Whoa, you were way off."
Right.
And I'll say, "Well, I know I was way off, but like the crazier the speculation is sometimes."
Sure. Yeah.
I
Yeah, that's
I
always
enjoy
fun.
that. I enjoy that.
That's always fun. I know you got just a couple of minutes left, but we didn't want you to leave the Scare Scuttlebutt podcast without doing a quick little Q&A that we had set up for you, a little segment we like to call Sentry Mode.
Okay.
Stand by for the graphic.
This is Sentry Mode.
Nice.
And I would like to offer, before we start, I would like to offer you extend an invitation whenever you want to come back, especially with Kenobi dropping in the next couple of weeks. We do our shows Saturday nights at 7 Central. I know you were also in Chicago, so math is hard. I can't convert worth shit. So, but yeah, whenever you'd like to come in and talk about a Kenobi episode, we are breaking that down on Saturdays on YouTube, Scarif Live. But
Well, maybe
we'd
if
love
that
to have
happens,
you.
maybe if that happens in your collection room, I could come check it out. And
Absolutely.
maybe I'll crash your pad.
Yes.
Because
All right.
I see a little bit back there. It's just a little tease. I
Oh
think.
yeah. I've got my boss back here
Darth
and
Vader.
some other stuff. But yeah, this room is wall to wall. The only thing is not covered are the ceilings, but that could change at any moment.
Yeah.
All right, Sentry Mode. Brad whipped up some really great questions. We will piggyback off of each other's Q&A here. Let's have Brad start with question number 1.
All right. So as today is May 25th, anniversary of A New Hope, all of our trivia questions today are in regards to episode 4, A New Hope, and we know you'll probably just knock all these out of the park. So here we go. Question number 1. What toy was Luke playing with when he was speaking 3PO at the homestead?
T-16 Skyhopper.
You got it.
Very
On
nice.
a roll.
On a
Take it away.
roll. And the special edition, what ship could be seen taking off from Mos Eisley?
The Outrider Dash Rendar ship.
Nailing it.
Mhm.
Love that question. Question 3. What ship was Darth Vader flying in the Death Star trench?
Oh, like the TIE Advanced? Is that what is
Yep.
that the answer we're looking for?
TIE
TIE
Advanced.
Advanced. Yeah,
Of
okay.
course, you have it ready to go.
I call it Darth Vader's TIE Fighter.
Yeah.
Just like the old Kenner box that I bought a couple weeks
Exactly.
ago.
Question number 3. What is it? 3 or 4?
You're on question 4.
4. What
He's still
job?
three.
Yeah. What job did 3PO claim to have when Lars said he needed a droid that could speak to moisture evaporators?
He had experience programming binary load lifters.
Nailing
which
it.
is very similar.
Very
Very
nice.
similar in that regard. All right, so let's make it a clean sweep. Let's make it 5 for 5, and this one is probably the easiest one of all. What was the call sign of the unfortunate Death Star stormtrooper who claimed to have some communication issues when he wasn't at his post?
That bastard TK421.
TK421, 5 for 5. Good job, Jimmy Mack.
Yeah.
We
Very
expected
nice.
nothing less.
Very nice.
There's a book called Star Wars: A Certain Point of View, and they take some wild liberties with that character, TK421. Let me tell you, wild liberties.
You want to talk about a hit or miss book? Some of those stories were okay.
Ooh.
Some of them are just
Kindling.
Wow.
Is that the same series where R5D4 uses the Force?
No, that's Skippy the Jedi Droid, which was
Yeah.
in the very first edition
Very
of
nice.
Star Wars Tales from Dark Horse.
And we want to talk about Tarkin in certain point of view. We're not going there.
It's the same story.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yikes.
Excellent. Well, Jimmy, thank you so much for joining us here on this very special May 25th on Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast. You are welcomed anytime, my friend, but we will definitely see you in July at Rosemont, July 23rd for a little celebration. Star Wars fandom. It's alive and kicking. Anybody that says otherwise, I think is wrong. But here we are talking about Star Wars many, many decades later, still loving the franchise. Tell the folks where folks can find you. And I'm sure that's a moot point because, like I said at the top of the broadcast, you guys are the #1 top-rated Star Wars podcast.
Well, thanks, man. We can be found at rebelforceradio.com. We're on YouTube at youtube.com/rebelforceradio. Wherever podcasts can be found. That's what they say. And it's true. We're everywhere, kind of like the coronavirus. We are everywhere. And, we hope we will outlast the coronavirus as well. But
Absolutely.
who knows? Who knows?
Great.
Guys, it's been a pleasure. Really. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And, we're local guys. So we have to maintain our local Chicago Star Wars fan bubble.
Absolutely.
And so I'm really happy anytime I could connect with anybody who's from this area. I've tried to varying degrees to like infiltrate local fan groups here and there over the years, and I just never was really able to connect with people. But via podcasting, I've really been able to find a lot of people that I get along with great when it comes to Star Wars. So
we'll definitely
happy to
do
add you to the list.
We'll definitely do a Chicago pod. I know Greg from Rebel Base Card. You've met him last time at ScarifCon. We've got Todd and the team at WSTR Galactic Public Access who are also here in Chicago. We see him at C2E2 all the time, and met them at Star Wars Celebration back in 19. But absolutely, my friend Jimmy, thank you so much. I know you guys are the source for the Force, but
There you
here we are. What are we, Brad?
Yes. So here's to Celebration, here's to Kenobi, and here's to this next 16 years of podcasting.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Just
Cheers.
Talk to everybody later.